My name is Ellie Montgomery. I'm 32, living in Boston, and working as an ICU nurse at the city's largest hospital. People call me the responsible one, the sister who holds everything together when our family crumbles. My heart has always been too soft for my own good. I paid for my sister Olivia's college tuition when she chose modeling over studying. I quietly covered the $70,000 debt my mother Victoria racked up renovating her real estate office. I even paid the mortgage on her luxury home twice when sales were slow. All while working double shifts at the hospital, my scrubs still carrying the scent of disinfectant and desperation. Family is family, I'd whisper to myself during 3 a.m. shifts, my eyes burning from exhaustion. But lately, that mantra feels like hands around my throat, squeezing tighter each day. Last night, my phone lit up with a message from my mother. Ellie darling, meet us at Le Chateau at 7 p.m. tomorrow. We're celebrating your nursing award. So proud. My stomach instantly nodded. Mother's celebrations always came with strings attached. Like when she gathered everyone to convince me to co-sign Olivia's apartment in the expensive part of town, right after her modeling contract fell through. I sit now in my car outside Le Chateau, the restaurant's golden lights illuminating faces I recognize through the windows. My hands tremble slightly on the steering wheel. I've spent 12 years saving lives, but family gatherings still make my pulse race like I'm coding a patient. There she is. Mother's voice rings across the restaurant as I enter. She air kisses my cheek, her designer perfume overwhelming my senses. Her eyes shine with an intensity that sends warning signals through my body. The private room is filled with relatives I barely see, Uncle Robert, Aunt Sarah, even cousins who normally only communicate through holiday cards. To Boston's Nurse of the Year. Everyone cheers, raising champagne flutes. I force a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. This is unexpected, I manage, the bitter taste of suspicion coating my tongue. Mother steers me to the center table where an elegant folder sits beside a place setting. My sister Olivia watches me with practiced innocence, her perfectly manicured hand toying with her necklace, the one I bought her last Christmas. Try the martini, honey. Your favorite. Mother pushes a drink toward me. I've been allergic to peach since residency, I murmur, my eyes drawn to the folder. I open it to see Eleanor Montgomery Medical Education Trust transfer emblazoned across the top page. What's this? My voice is steady, masking the earthquake inside me. Just boring paperwork, darling. Grandma Eleanor's trust, tax purposes, Mother waves dismissively, her red nails flashing under the chandelier. Tonight is about celebrating you. I scan the document, my medical training helping me focus despite my racing heart. One sentence freezes my blood. I, Ellie Montgomery, hereby transfer all rights to the Eleanor Montgomery Medical Trust valued at $18 million. Mom, I say, my calm tone betraying years of crisis management training, this transfers Grandma's entire hospital trust to Olivia. It's just simpler this way, honey. Her smile tightens like a tourniquet. Sign it, Ellie, Olivia interrupts. Everyone thinks it's best. Her social media perfect smile doesn't mask the entitlement in her eyes. I laugh, the hollow sound echoing like in an empty hospital corridor. So the nursing award celebration was just bait. Mother's face hardens. Don't create a scene. Not with everyone watching. I close the folder, discreetly taking photos of each page with my phone. Then let everyone hear exactly what this family does to its Nurse of the Year. I meet each relative's gaze, suddenly feeling the same strength I find when advocating for patients who cannot speak for themselves. Tonight, I'm finally my own advocate. I remain seated in the plush restaurant chair, my nursing award certificate forgotten beside the untouched champagne. The private dining room that minutes ago felt celebratory now suffocated me like an oxygen mask strapped too tight. My heart pounded against my ribcage, the sound drowning out the nervous whispers around me. The trust folder lay open before me, its elegant lettering a facade for betrayal. Everyone avoided my gaze. Olivia studied her manicure, her perfectly glossed lips pressed into a thin line. My cousin Melissa scrolled through her phone as if seeking digital escape. Mother maintained her real estate agent smile, the same one she used to sell overpriced properties, but I detected the calculation behind her eyes. Mom, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, why ambush me? If this was truly about Grandma Eleanor's medical trust, why not have an honest conversation? Mother's heels clicked sharply as she approached, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness that made my skin crawl. Darling, you always overthink everything. This is simple administration. The trust would be better managed collectively. With your hospital shifts, you're too busy to handle it properly. You're already comfortable with your nurse's salary, aren't you? The irony burned in my throat. Comfortable? After paying Olivia's tuition and your mortgage? My fingers curled around my stethoscope in my pocket, a grounding reminder of who I really was. Convenient for whom, mother? Why orchestrate this elaborate trap? I thought I was your daughter, not your ATM machine. Ellie, enough. Uncle Robert's authoritative voice cut through the tension. You're embarrassing the family. My eyes found his, unflinching. I should apologize for not signing away Grandma's medical legacy. The woman who inspired me to become a nurse in the first place? A gentle hand touched my shoulder. Zoe stood beside me, her doctor's coat still on from her hospital shift. The sight of my best friend, who'd rushed here directly from surgery, gave me strength. Ellie, mother hissed, facade cracking, stop making this a spectacle. I rose slowly, gathering my dignity with each inch. You staged this spectacle, mother. I'm just refusing to perform. I photographed each document with deliberate care, then placed the folder on the table. Looking at each family member, I felt the same clarity I experience when reading vital signs, sudden, undeniable truth. Grandma Eleanor entrusted her medical legacy to me because she knew my heart. Tonight, you've all confirmed her judgment. The silence spoke volumes. Zoe, shall we? She nodded, doctor to nurse, conspirator to friend. Mother's voice followed me, there will be consequences if you walk away, Ellie. I turned back, meeting her gaze with the same steadiness I use with critical patience. I've handled the consequences of your actions my entire life. Now I choose my patience over your performance. I exited not with drama but with the quiet dignity I'd learned at countless bedsides, where what matters most is never money, but integrity. Zoe's car glided through the Boston night, streetlights casting golden halos through the rain-splattered windows. I leaned back against the leather seat, my nurse's badge still clipped to my shirt, a physical reminder of who I really was despite tonight's chaos. Your vitals look terrible, Zoe said softly, her doctor's instincts never resting. How's your heart rate? Elevated but stable, I answered, attempting a weak smile. I'll survive. Always do. The silence between us felt comfortable, like the quiet understanding between medical professionals who've seen too much together. Finally, Zoe spoke, your grandmother, she anticipated this ambush, didn't she? I nodded, throat tight. Eleanor was always 3 steps ahead. She must have left safeguards beyond just the trust. Something more concrete than money, evidence, perhaps. Zoe's hand found mine, her surgeon's fingers strong and steady. Then it's your shift now. Your turn to protect her legacy. Tomorrow I'm meeting Grandma's attorney, I said, gripping her hand like a lifeline. We stopped at a waterfront cafe where harbor lights danced across the bay like fallen stars. While Zoe ordered chamomile tea, her prescription for anxiety since med school, I retrieved the documents I'd photographed, studying them with the same intensity I use for reviewing patient charts. Beyond the transfer agreement lurked insidious attachments, power of attorney forms and asset reallocation provisions that would funnel every penny of Grandma's hospital shares into a new entity controlled exclusively by my mother. Zoe's eyes widened as I explained. They were stealing your inheritance and using your signature to legitimize the theft. The perfect crime, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Mother's best real estate deal yet. What about your grandmother's lawyer? You mentioned reaching out. I showed her the final text from Grandma Eleanor that I'd saved like a talisman, dearest Ellie, when confusion finds you, seek Marcus Donovan. I've left you what matters most. Marcus Donovan's office occupied the 3rd floor of a historic brownstone near Massachusetts General Hospital, my grandmother's second home for 40 years. I arrived 15 minutes early, my hands trembling slightly beneath my carefully pressed blazer. The man who greeted me had kind eyes behind silver-rimmed glasses. In his mid-60s, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to navigating life's most delicate transitions. Eleanor spoke of you often, he said, leading me into a warmly lit office where medical ethics books shared shelf space with legal volumes. On his desk sat a sealed envelope bearing my name and my grandmother's distinctive script. Your grandmother left specific instructions, he continued, retrieving a USB drive from a locked drawer. This recording was to be viewed only by you, under these exact circumstances. My pulse quickened. Can we watch it now? The screen flickered to life, and suddenly there she was, Grandmother Eleanor, her silver hair pulled back in her characteristic no-nonsense bun, her eyes clear despite her illness. Ellie, if you're seeing this, then Victoria has made her move exactly as I predicted. The familiar voice washed over me, the same voice that had guided my first clinical rotations, that had whispered encouragement during my nursing exams. You've always been the true healer among us. The only one who inherited not just my name, but my values. Victoria sees patients as profit margins, you see their humanity. That's why the hospital shares and foundation must remain in your hands. Not because you need wealth, but because patients need your protection. My vision blurred as tears threatened. The recording continued, revealing a stunning safeguard. Any attempt to coerce me into relinquishing control would automatically trigger the transfer of assets to a patient care endowment. Your mother doesn't know about this clause, Marcus explained quietly. I can execute it immediately. I wiped my eyes. The recording, may I have a copy? Of course. He handed me a duplicate drive. There's one more video. Eleanor intended it for the entire family. My fingers closed around it, the small device suddenly feeling weighty with potential. A plan crystallized in my mind. I think it's time my family heard from Grandma directly. Zoe waited for me in the hospital parking garage, her white coat exchanged for a casual sweater. As we drove, I detailed Marcus's revelations, my voice growing stronger with each word. When I mentioned Grandma's video, Zoe's eyes gleamed with surgical precision. You're going to show them the recording? Tomorrow evening, I confirmed, my fingers tracing the USB drive's outline through my pocket. I'm hosting a reconciliation meeting at my apartment. So their staged celebration becomes your checkmate? Excitement colored her voice. I nodded, feeling a rare sense of control spreading through my chest like warming medicine. This time, I'm writing the care plan. The protection clause transferring everything to patient care foundations remained my silent insurance policy. Mother and Olivia had no idea they were the ones being diagnosed now. That night, I composed a carefully worded text. Mother, I've considered everything. I'm inviting everyone to my apartment tomorrow at 5 p.m. to resolve this situation amicably. Her response flashed instantly, darling, I knew you'd be reasonable. We'll all be there to support you. I didn't need to analyze her words. Victoria Montgomery never refused an opportunity where she sensed victory, a real estate agent's instinct. Zoe helped transform my modest living space. We borrowed a projector from the hospital's education department, positioning it perfectly to face the blank wall, like preparing an operating theater. I placed Grandma Eleanor's USB beside my laptop, its small form containing truth more powerful than any medication. My pulse quickened, not with anxiety as during emergency codes, but with certainty. After tomorrow, our family dynamic would be permanently altered. At precisely 5 p.m., my doorbell chimed. Mother entered first, wrapped in a designer outfit that probably cost 3 months of my nursing salary, her perfume announcing her presence before her voice did. Where's Ellie? She demanded, using my full name only when asserting dominance, as though saying, remember who made you. I called this meeting, I replied, my voice carrying the calm authority I use when managing critical patients. Please come in. Mother swept past, followed by Olivia in fashionable attire that seemed excessive for a family meeting. Aunt Catherine and Uncle Robert trailed behind, discomfort evident in their postures. Once seated, I approached my laptop. I have something important to share, I said, my tone carrying the same clarity I use when delivering difficult news to patients' families. The projector illuminated the wall, and suddenly Grandma Eleanor appeared, her nurse's posture perfect despite her illness, her experienced eyes reflecting the wisdom of decades in healthcare. If you're watching this, then Ellie has refused to surrender what I've entrusted to her, her voice announced firmly. Mother's body tensed visibly, but she remained silent. Everything, the hospital shares, the foundation funds, belongs solely to Ellie. She is the only Montgomery who embodies the true spirit of healing that built our family's legacy. Not status-seeking, not profit-hungry, but committed to patients first. Olivia stared at her hands. Mother's makeup couldn't hide her blanching complexion. The trust carries specific conditions. First, assets must support healthcare advancement and education. Second, investments must benefit patient care. Third, charitable donations must go to medical access programs. I observed Mother's expression shift from confidence to calculation to growing panic. Should anyone attempt to coerce or manipulate Ellie into surrendering control, 50% of all assets will automatically transfer to the Children's Hospital Endowment. Silent tension filled the room like anesthetic gas. I stopped the video. Yesterday wasn't about celebration. It was about taking what Grandma Eleanor deliberately placed in my care. I'm no longer the exhausted nurse you can manipulate between shifts. Mother stood abruptly. You're overreacting. Everything I planned was for our family's benefit. For the family? I asked softly, channeling the patient advocate I'd become. Or because you feared losing access to resources that would bail out your failing properties and Olivia's expensive lifestyle? This is absurd. Mother's voice cracked like a monitor alarm. Family means supporting each other. I met her gaze steadily. I've supported everyone for years. Now I'm honoring Grandma's wishes and the patients she cared about. I placed Eleanor's written directives on the coffee table like discharge papers. Grandma predicted all of this. And anyone who challenges her wishes triggers consequences none of us can reverse. Mother clutched her designer handbag like a lifeline. You'll regret this isolation. Someday you'll need us. Perhaps, I acknowledged. But today I need integrity. And that's not negotiable, regardless of the price. I opened my door. This consultation is concluded. After they left, my apartment felt different, not empty but cleansed. The USB drive remained on my table, containing not just legal documents but Grandma Eleanor's faith in me, that I could protect patients as fiercely as I now protected myself. If my family attempted another maneuver, they'd discover I'd already prepared the necessary treatment plan. Dawn found me in my small apartment kitchen, scrubs from last night's shift still hanging on the bathroom door. A mug of cold coffee sat untouched before me as I examined the contents of a thick folder Marcus Donovan had personally delivered after our meeting. Your grandmother documented everything meticulously, he'd explained, handing me chronologically labeled files. Hospital records showing falsified medical expense claims, credit cards opened in your name during nursing school, even loans redirected from patient education funds to your mother's business ventures. I lost track of time reviewing each damning page, bank statements, transcribed phone calls, forged signatures. By the final document, my hands had stopped trembling. This wasn't just self-defense anymore, this was patient advocacy, the very principle Grandma Eleanor had instilled in me. 3 days later, I arranged to meet my mother alone at a quiet cafe near Boston Harbor where she once took me for hot chocolate after my first clinical rotation. Today's meeting held no warmth, only necessary closure. Victoria Montgomery arrived 15 minutes late, immaculately dressed in designer clothes that seemed excessive for 8 a.m. Her practiced smile faltered when she saw my expression. Traffic was dreadful, darling. Thanks for suggesting breakfast. I gestured to the chair across from me, then placed a sealed envelope on the table. I didn't invite you to reconcile. I'm establishing boundaries effective immediately. Her smile disappeared. What's this? I slid the envelope toward her. Evidence. The credit cards you opened using my nursing license number. The emergency loans for Olivia's supposed medical treatments that funded your real estate office renovation. The financial aid meant for my hospital's residency program that somehow paid for Olivia's apartment. She laughed nervously, touching her pearls. You're overreacting, Ellie. Everything was for our family's benefit. All parents help their children this way. My voice remained as steady as when delivering critical patient updates. Family benefit? When I was working double ICU shifts during COVID to pay off fraudulent debt while you were vacationing in Palm Beach? Her composure cracked. I continued, recalling the precision of surgical nurses. Remember when you called claiming Olivia needed emergency dental surgery requiring $12,000? I produced a bank statement. That same afternoon, this amount was transferred to Luxury Motors for your new car down payment. Who told you that? She whispered. Grandma Eleanor recorded your call with the dealership. She documented everything. Mother's carefully maintained facade crumbled. For the first time, I saw not the confident real estate broker, but a woman caught in her own tangled web. What do you want? She asked, vulnerability replacing entitlement. Not money. Not apologies. Just this, it stops now. No more loans in my name. No more fabricated emergencies. No more manipulating Olivia against me. I leaned forward, speaking with the authority I used during hospital emergencies. If anyone attempts to access the medical trust again, I'll file formal charges with documentation already prepared for the Medical Board and Financial Crimes Division. She began to object, but I continued. One more thing, I know you've contacted that attorney about contesting Grandma's wishes. Be aware that any legal challenge automatically transfers half the hospital shares to pediatric cancer research. I gathered my evidence, standing with the confident posture Eleanor had taught me. So strategize all you want, but remember, every hostile move costs patients who need care. Mother stared, testing my resolve. I offered a small, professional smile. You taught me family politics, but Grandma taught me medical ethics. Looks like you chose the wrong specialty to undermine. I walked out, stethoscope visible in my bag, a reminder of who I truly was. My steps carried the lightness of a nurse leaving after saving a life. This wasn't about inheritance anymore but reclaiming my purpose, something my family never believed mattered more than money. Early Monday morning, I arrived at Marcus Donovan's law office, my nursing lanyard still around my neck after an overnight shift. The hospital board meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock, and I needed to verify all preparations. The conference room overlooked Boston Harbor, sunlight glinting off the waters where Eleanor had taught me to sail as a child. The projector displayed her paused image, stern yet compassionate, her nurse's pin visible on her lapel. Marcus entered with additional documentation. Everything's prepared. All evidence of financial misconduct has been organized by incident and date. I nodded firmly. Good. No small talk when they arrive. At precisely 9 o'clock, the door opened. Mother entered first in designer business attire, followed by Olivia in a carefully assembled outfit that screamed responsible adult. Board members from Eleanor Montgomery Memorial Hospital filled the remaining seats, physicians, administrators, and trustees who'd known my grandmother for decades. Marcus began professionally, "Thank you for your punctuality. We're convened to view Eleanor Montgomery's final recorded statement and formalize the transfer of hospital shares and foundation assets." "I hope this isn't another dramatic performance," Mother muttered, arranging herself elegantly in her chair. Without responding, I activated the video. Grandmother Eleanor's image filled the screen, her voice carrying the authority that had guided generations of nurses. "If you're watching this, events have unfolded exactly as anticipated. Victoria, I've documented everything, from misappropriated patient fund donations to unauthorized property deals leveraging hospital information, from fraudulent expense claims to embezzled educational grants. Every transaction, every falsified signature, every diverted donation, all preserved with meticulous care." Mother's carefully applied foundation couldn't hide her blanching complexion. Olivia stared fixedly at her manicured nails. "I hereby confirm transfer of my controlling interest in Montgomery Memorial Hospital and associated medical facilities to my granddaughter, Eleanor Ellie Montgomery. She alone has maintained our founding principle, patients before profits." The hospital's chief of medicine nodded approvingly while Mother stood abruptly. "This is outrageous. This hospital was founded on my grandmother's nursing ethics," I said, rising to meet her gaze. "The board has already approved the transfer of shares. Here are the executed documents." I presented the certified ownership papers that Marcus had prepared. "You can't do this." Mother's voice cracked with desperation. "I've been running the family's real estate investments for 20 years. You've been using hospital insider information to profit from medical property acquisitions," I corrected, sliding forward another folder. "These are your resignation documents from all hospital-affiliated business ventures. Sign them, or these financial records go directly to the Medical Ethics Board and SEC." The folder contained proof of Mother's systematic exploitation, property flips based on confidential hospital expansion plans, falsified patient housing claims, and luxury purchases disguised as medical necessities. Silence enveloped the room. Marcus added, "Any attempt to contest this transition or threaten Ms. Montgomery will trigger the Trust Protection Clause, transferring 50% of all assets to healthcare access initiatives for underserved communities." I faced my mother directly. "You always said my dedication to nursing made me weak. You were wrong. It made me persistent." Mother's hand trembled as she reached for the documents. "If I sign, will you keep this private?" "Our reputation." "I care about the hospital's reputation," I clarified. "But continued interference will force me to prioritize transparency over family pride." She signed without further protest, her signature as shaky as a patient's after trauma. I collected the papers methodically. Effective immediately, hospital charity accounts will be independently audited. All Montgomery family access to foundation funds is revoked. Hospital properties leased through your agency will be reviewed for market fairness. "Ellie," Olivia whispered, "this is extreme." I turned to her with the calm compassion I reserve for difficult family conversations in the ICU. "No, Olivia. This should have been addressed years ago. Today we're simply correcting the chart." The boardroom door closed behind me with the soft finality of a completed patient care plan. I didn't turn back, my stethoscope pointed forward like a compass toward healing. 6 weeks after the board meeting, I assumed my position as executive director of the Eleanor Montgomery Medical Trust, overseeing the hospital shares my grandmother had built from a single nursing station into Boston's premier medical center. The corner office with its view of the harbor had previously displayed Victoria's interior design awards. Now it held my grandmother's nursing credentials and the faded photograph of her treating soldiers after World War II. I changed little about the physical space but transformed its purpose entirely. My nursing license now hung where my mother's real estate broker certificate once dominated. A symbolic shift, but a meaningful one. Beyond maintaining the trust, I established something Eleanor had always envisioned, the Montgomery Patient Advocacy Foundation, dedicated to providing medical financial assistance and supporting healthcare workers pressured by family obligations, nurses, technicians, and caregivers who sacrificed their well-being for others. The foundation received 25% of the hospital's discretionary profits, a policy I implemented through unanimous board approval. The medical community embraced this mission, recognizing how it embodied the hospital's founding principles of care before commerce. That evening, a text message appeared. "Ellie, it's Mother. Olivia's been asking about you. She's struggling. Could we talk?" After careful consideration, I responded, "Wednesday. 2 p.m. Hospital cafeteria." They arrived punctually. Mother looked immaculate as always, though subtle signs of stress lined her face. Olivia appeared humbled, her expensive clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. The familiar entitlement in her expression had softened into something resembling regret. "Ellie," Mother began cautiously, "we're not here for financial assistance. We just want to understand where we stand." 2 hospital brochures sat before me, one for family therapy specializing in financial boundaries, another for career counseling services. "I'm not excluding you from my life, but I can't continue enabling unhealthy patterns," I explained, sliding the brochures forward. "The hospital offers these programs. I can arrange appointments if you're genuinely interested." Mother hesitated. "Do you see us as terrible people?" I shook my head, using the gentle directness I'd developed delivering difficult diagnoses. "I see people who never learned healthy boundaries. And who prevented me from establishing mine." Olivia spoke softly, surprising me. "I've started volunteering at the children's ward. I never understood what you did until I saw it myself." I didn't immediately respond, not from indifference, but because I'd learned that genuine change requires more than momentary contrition. They departed without dramatic reconciliation or promises. Just quiet acknowledgement. Later that evening, I visited the Foundation's first workshop where nursing students gathered to discuss maintaining professional boundaries while supporting families. I observed from the doorway, content in my anonymity. Zoe joined me, carrying 2 cups of hospital coffee. I heard Olivia's volunteering in pediatrics 3 days a week now. A smile touched my lips. Perhaps there's healing potential in the next generation. She handed me draft text for the Foundation's mission statement. What should we include here? After reflection, I wrote, "We believe healthcare providers deserve the same care they give others, and true family support never demands self-sacrifice." Zoe squeezed my hand. Eleanor would recognize herself in those words. From the window, I watched ambulance lights flash across the night sky, bringing new patients to receive care from dedicated professionals. For the first time since nursing school, I felt no conflict between duty and self-preservation. I didn't owe my family my identity anymore. My calling belonged to me alone. I once thought the bonds of blood were unbreakable, that despite repeated wounds, forgiveness was mandatory because that's family. Now I understand some connections exist only to drain you. Without courage to establish boundaries, you remain caught in endless self-sacrifice. This autumn, as crimson leaves carpet the path to Montgomery Memorial Hospital, I've entered a new phase of life. No more 3 a.m. panic calls about emergencies, no veiled requests for financial rescue, no crushing guilt when protecting my boundaries against those who once called me the reliable nurse. My apartment near the harbor remains modest but feels like sanctuary. My shelves display new memories, Zoe and I with nursing students at our first Foundation workshop, surprisingly, Olivia and I at a hospital fundraiser where she volunteered rather than posed, and a simple photo of just me in my scrubs, smiling genuinely without exhaustion. After a late-night seminar on professional boundaries for healthcare workers, Zoe joined me on my balcony, steam rising from her teacup. "If Victoria called tomorrow, would you answer?" she asked quietly. I considered carefully before shaking my head. Not from resentment, but self-preservation. Each time I lower my defenses, I risk surrendering the peace I've fought so hard to establish. Zoe watched a passing ambulance, its lights reflecting in her eyes. "Your family lost you not because of money or hospital shares, but because they never valued someone they assumed would always endure mistreatment." Her insight resonated deeply as I addressed a conference for healthcare professionals experiencing family pressure the following day. Standing at the podium, I carried no lengthy speech, just my nursing badge and authentic experience. My name is Ellie, and the first thing you should know, prioritizing your well-being isn't selfish, it's necessary for providing genuine care to others. Complete silence fell across the auditorium. I was my family's endless resource, not just financially, but emotionally. The midnight calls during shifts, the manipulative pleas, without your help, will collapse. I sacrificed more than money, I compromised my professional integrity, my sleep, my health, maintaining a false harmony. But peace built on exploitation inevitably fractures. In the front row sat Olivia, her expression thoughtful as she offered a subtle nod of recognition. True family supports your authentic self, whether that's colleagues who notice when you're exhausted, patients who remind you why you became a nurse, or yourself, standing firm in your professional ethics when everyone else demands compromise. When I finished, healthcare workers rose in solidarity, not because I directed a hospital trust, but because I'd chosen professional integrity over familial obligation. That evening in my foundation office, I reread Grandma Eleanor's final handwritten note, never shared publicly. Dearest Ellie, when forced to choose between family expectations and your calling as a healer, remember, authentic support never requires sacrificing your principles. Choosing your path isn't abandonment, it's the only way to provide genuine care. When necessary, walk toward healing. I carefully returned the letter to its place. Healing, not something granted by others, but something I cultivated through boundaries. For the first time since nursing school, I understood with absolute certainty, I need no one's permission to honor my calling. Ellie's journey reminds us that establishing healthy boundaries, even with family, often requires tremendous courage. Professional ethics sometimes conflict with family expectations. In a world where many healthcare workers sacrifice their well-being under the banner of duty, Ellie chose to honor her grandmother's true legacy, patient care grounded in personal integrity. She demonstrated that genuine healing begins with respecting your own worth.